Senator Miller. Over here.
I would just like to briefly remind everyone why we're in this mess in the first place. Your party put us in this mess, exactly. You put it here, and you haven't actually done that much to get us out of it. So aren't we all a little sick of the crap these two parties have been providing us with? Yeah, how about we go with the independent this time, because, well, do we really want to do another 4 more year of either of these guys?
Thank you, Senator Miller. Would either of you like a chance to respond? Mr. Bluvit?
Okay. If you want to put your full weight behind a monofaceted party that's only concerns are legalizing weed and saving a few trees, go ahead. That'll do you great in the world. Specific to the deficit, I just want to say, I understand that the debt has been climbing year after year, and yeah, it's a dark cloud in our future. But right now, how much is it affecting you that our debt is climbing? Right now. It's not. What's affecting you?
You may finish your sentence if you like.
What's affecting you is your likelihood to get a job, and that should be our focus.
Thank you. And Governor Lee?
We can use this issue that we're discussing as a ploy to attack each party, but that's not really going to tell you guys anything. But there's a logical answer to this. We have to decrease spending, and we have to increase taxes. All I would like to do is decrease spending where it's not needed or not being needed or not being used efficiently. And I want to increase taxes on those who can afford it and for those who are not being taxed equally in the first place.
Thank you. Now we'll turn it over to our senatorial candidates and their chance to respond on the issue of the deficit. Governor Coleman.
I would just like to point out to Mr. Potter here that increasing sales tax kills the lower and middle class. The upper class are the people who aren't as affected by sales tax buying on the internet or out and getting through loopholes. So if you were to increase the sales tax, while that may decrease the deficit, it will also really increase unemployment, it will raise the poverty line up, and it seems rather discriminatory towards the lower and middle class.
Mr. Potter.
Now, one thing that you don't understand about this sales tax policy is that it would work on the internet. It would apply to every person who's buying anything except food and medicine. And your party, with the Bush tax cuts, has created this debt problem, and your party, through wasteful spending, has expanded this problem. And now, did I miss the memo of redoing Casual Friday and allowing people to throw pies at us? And so how can we trust someone to eliminate a serious financial problem when they claim that they're unpredictable, yet come from one of the richest places in America?
Thank you, Mr. Potter.
Eliminate their own tax.
And Mayor King.
See, I would like to point out that, look, yes, I'm not in the suit, but I'm also closer to you. I did the pie thing so that I was not placing myself above you, which he is doing right now. I am trying to work for the American people. I am of the American people, and I want to help everyone in America as much as I can. Obviously, we can't make everyone happy, but we need to make as many people happy as we can with what we have.
All right, I'm going to close the discussion on the deficit for now, and I'm going to move on to a new phase. I'm going to call it the lightning round phase of the debate. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask some yes or no questions. That can be hard to do for anybody, but especially for a political candidate. So I'm going to allow you to take note of anything you want to follow up with after that. But I'm going to ask a few yes or no questions. I'm going to get you to raise your hand if the answer is yes, and raise it if the answer is no, and have you on the record before the American people about your positions on a few issues. But again, you may take note of something you wish to follow up on afterwards, and we can do that. All right? For all of our candidates, raise your hand if you believe that the temperature of the Earth is warming. For all of our candidates, raise your hand, since you all raise your hand for being warming, if you believe the warming is caused significantly by man. All right? For all candidates, raise your hand if you believe we should impose a tax on carbon. Or carbon emissions. Okay. Some more questions. Raise your hand if you support the death penalty. raise your hand if you believe there are any interrogation methods. Waterboarding has been criticized quite a bit in the War on Terror, that you're willing to take off the table to say that America will not engage in. Raise your hand if you believe there are any instances in which abortion should be banned. If there are any cases in which abortion should be banned. Raise your hand if you believe there are any cases in which abortion should be allowed. Okay, we're getting a feel for our candidates' beliefs on some issues that you all may have follow-up questions on. Remember, our final time is going to be for audience questions. Raise your hand if you believe there should be any new restrictions on firearms. Raise your hand if you believe we can do a better job of enforcing existing firearms laws. Raise your hand if you make any changes at all to existing immigration law. Okay, these are wide open questions. That's a conversation starter in many ways. I'm going to allow these candidates also to ask each other a question after this. Raise your hand if you support gay marriage. Raise your hand if you support a state being allowed to allow gay marriage. Okay. So all candidates believe in the state's right. Raise your hand if you believe the federal government should continue its ban on providing any benefits to those who are in a gay marriage. There's currently a ban. Raise your hand if you believe the federal government should continue that ban. Okay, so we have more progressive candidates overall on that issue. At this point, I'm going to allow first for a follow-up answer from each candidate, and then for each candidate to impose a follow-up question on anyone else they'd like to. What I'll do is start with Mayor Kane, who's running for Senate. Mayor Kane, is there any issue you want to follow up on with your position?
Yes, as far as abortion goes, there is certain instances where it is not very appropriate. After the third trimester, it is in fact a child, but beforehand, the second trimester, it's a little bit, it depends, and the first trimester, it really isn't. So you're determining what has the potential to be life, which is a puddle of water on the floor has the potential to grow mold. So it's not, I'm not comparing a child to mold, but it's not quite a child yet, and I think abortion should be legal up to the second trimester in certain cases.
Thank you. Mr. Potter?
Now, I also agree with Mr. Kane that we should allow abortion, and Roe v. Wade established a good standard. If the child can survive on itself, then abortion shouldn't be allowed. But if the child cannot survive on itself, as in it's a puddle of water, as Mr. Kane decided to describe it, then abortion is perfectly fine. Now, many religious groups may get upset with the allowing of gay marriage, so churches can decide whether to give gay marriages or not, because we are a country that is a separation of church and state. So if the government should be allowed to issue gay marriages to whoever would want one.
Thank you, Senator Potter. And Governor Coleman?
I would like to expand on Mr. Potter's stance on gay marriage. I am a proud Christian woman, and personally, I don't believe that gay marriage should happen, but I also fully believe that it is not the government's choice because of separation of church and state. It is one of the things that I value more than anything in this country, and so I believe that gay marriage should be legal. I also, on the topic of immigration, because it may not be clear through just raising hands, I believe that immigration needs to be more regulated. I believe there are far too many illegal immigrants in this country who are taking jobs from Americans, but I also believe in strong family values, and I do not think we should split up families just because of illegal immigration.
Thank you. And we'll now turn to our candidates for president. We'll begin with Governor Lee.
One issue that was brought up that I'm thankful was brought up was the issue of guns. Who can have them? The ban I want to have on guns involves semi-automatic weapons and assault rifles. I understand constitutionally you're allowed to have a gun. You're protected by that. There's no disputing that. You have the right to defend yourself with a firearm in your own home. However, I do not believe that those with a terribly criminal record need to have assault rifles and AK-47s. 87 people every day here in America die from a gun crime. That's 87 too many. That's what I'm going to fight to stop as President of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Bouid referred to me as a one-topic candidate here. Let me just remind you that my topic is going to save all of your lives. I would just like to throw a couple numbers out there at you. In the past 50 years, we've used more resources than we have in the entirety of human history. Over half of the world's forests and tropical forests have been cut down. 5 million tons of oil produced each year ends up in the ocean, killing thousands of animals and destroying thousands of habitats. 80% of the energy that we use in the world, it comes from oil and drilling and destroying more habitats. 100 billion letters of junk mail. 51 million metric tons of greenhouse gases are produced from that. Let's just think about it. Do you want to breathe? I think we all like breathing, right? Raise your hand if you like breathing. Good stuff, I'm glad to hear it. Also, raise your hand if you want to meet your grandchildren. I thought so.
Thank you, Senator Miller. And Mr. Bourbon.